Welcome back. I know you wanted to respond to Paul Bay's point.
Just some of the issues. I mean, one, we really don't understand why the city is saying that this particular service was introduced voluntarily, because this is the janitorial service. Because this is what we've been advocating for since we started work in the sanitation campaign as an SJC.
What is your complaint exactly? I don't understand.
No, I mean, one, that's one of the issues that I wanted to...
That you compel them to do that rather than...
Exactly.
You know, but does that really matter? I think that's what Edgar Pieterse is saying. Does it really matter? They've done it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but this is... The issues with this particular service is that we've engaged with the city, we've had numerous meetings with the mayor herself, and this service continues to fail. There's broken promises that have been made by the mayor in terms of trying to make sure that this service works. So could I ask you, what are the broken promises that you think the mayor... The first thing which we demand here in the report is that the city needs to produce an implementation plan for this particular service.
Sorry, which plan?
An implementation plan for the janitorial service.
Okay, can I stop you? Can we... Well, how do you respond to that?
Well, as ever, I think this might be heart of the problem. A social audit should be a collaborative process. You should have stakeholders and government working together, and it's by definition now become an adversarial process. The city did voluntarily introduce this program because we're constantly innovating.
All right.
The city grows by 30%, or has grown by 30% in the last 10 years. Clearly, urbanization in any South African large city is a major, major challenge. That's why we've invested the way we have, and that's why we roll out quality services, and that is why Cape Town leads on every single available indices. Numbers can be misleading because we care about people. However, where the SJC, I think, are misleading is they obsess about things like implementation plans. Well, the service has been running for an extended period. We run services across the city of different kinds. Government has a responsibility to deliver. We must be held to account. But it's not for the SJC to tell us how to conduct a particular program. We need to respond to citizen need, not to the SJC, who I think often are motivated by different intentions.
All right, yes.
Citizen needs, that's exactly the people we represent in Khayelitsha.
But you represent exactly that, 4 communities in Khayelitsha.
These are issues that were taken up by them. This is not about the SJC. It's about the people who are using those dirty and broken toilets. And that's why we're raising these issues. It's not about us as an organization.
This document says it's all about the SJC. It's not about just citizens.
It's about our toilets are dirty. Whose toilets? Not the SJC's toilets.
In 4 communities out of 160 communities in which we operate.
Exactly. If you could go to other communities...
And actually, in your findings, you found 75% work more than adequately.
If you could go to other communities, you would see the same thing.
I'm very aware of arts delivery across areas. It is complex. It is difficult. Is it perfect? By no means. Is it better than the rest of the country? Inarguably.
Can I just ask you this? I mean, we can see how adversarial this is. And understandably, for goodness sake, I suspect that if any of us had lousy toilets, I mean, we'd be complaining bitterly. Yet this is a problem that's lurked for a very long time. I mean, this thing's been in the courts, it's been in the Human Rights Commission, it's been the social audit. The city says, with some justification, I suspect, that all of the national audits show that it's far better than any other city. I'm never quite sure whether that's a defense of sorts, because if they're all hopeless, then what does that mean? So how does one actually move out of this kind of, how does one solve this problem? I mean, it is obviously, and Paul is saying that we've got such massive urbanization into this, given limited resources, it's impossible to solve this quickly.
Well, that's true. There's 2 issues to pull out here. The one is that the reason why Cape Town, of course, fares better than everywhere else is that when the Unicity was formed, when we had single local authorities in 2000, it had a better starting point because of the historical legacy. So we've never had a homeland close to the Western Cape. We've never had the legacies that other parts of the country face. So if you're ahead in the game, then obviously you'll perform better over time. So I think that's not so important. All the metros in South Africa are facing exactly the same challenges. Everyone confronts the issues that is referenced. But some of them
seem much worse. I mean, for example, Johannesburg, vast sections didn't have water for weeks on end.
55,000 households have no access to any form of sanitation.
That is extraordinary.
In Cape Town, we're arguing about a top-up service and how good it is or isn't.
What do you say about that?
So for me, I'm not that interested in that kind of comparison because Joburg has had 3 times more migrants than Cape Town, for example.
But we're growing at almost the same rate as they are.
No, they've had, over the last period that you measure, they had a 46% growth rate. You've had 29.7 between 2001 and 2011. So, Gauteng has experienced 3 times the migration as the Western Cape over the 10-year census period. But for me, that's not the point. The issue is that If you have 25 to 30% of your population unemployed with no regular household income, the national legislation compels all local authorities to have indigence policies to allow you to cross-subsidize to deal with these kinds of challenges.
Exactly what
Isn't that what they're doing?
We have the most extensive basket of free basic services in South Africa. Free basic water, free electricity.
Well, I'll give you a chance.
The point that I'm making is that all metros are doing it, all local authorities are doing it.
Some are doing better than others.
Some of them, granted, do it better. But the point is that what I'm trying to answer is your original question.
Yes, correct.
Is that is the issue insurmountable? If you have macro factors where you've got such a large proportion of your population unemployed, and municipalities draw essentially of own revenue from their rate space with some intergovernmental transfers, you'll never have enough money to solve the problem if unemployment remains around 25 to 30%.
And that's way beyond the city.
That's way beyond the city. So the point is that there are a set of factors here that go beyond what is within the control of the city in terms of the revenue that you've got to leverage to deal with these problems. Then there are further set of issues. Yeah.
I got you. But can I just ask you to respond crisply to that point?
I think
the city, in some ways, all cities, but we're talking about Cape Town here, is overwhelmed by a huge problem that it cannot possibly solve on its own. And if we grow at 1.5% or even less a year, well, we're going to be sitting here next year with an even bigger problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You accept that?
I mean, those are issues that we acknowledge and we accept, and we know that informal settlements are going to be there for the next 30 to 50 years to come.
So isn't your frustration focused on the city?
The issue is
rather
about...
than where it should be focused, on the broader question.
The issue is not about the city itself, it's about the delivery of the services, the delivery of the services or the lack of delivery.
And the city's frustration is that Cape Town gets represented as somehow having a peculiar sanitation problem, when we actually provide the best level of service in South Africa. So the comparison to the rest of South Africa is actually relevant.
Can I put this to you? That there is a perception, I want to emphasize perception, I'm not saying it's correct or not, that in a sense, your natural constituency aren't those people in the Khayelitsha, and therefore you privilege the richer people and you penalize the poorer people. Now, do you accept that that's a perception?
That is a perception that is driven by the likes of Tony Ehrenreich and our natural political competitors. It is complete and utter rubbish.
But doesn't that mean that you've got to go the extra mile to destroy that?
And that's why we do exactly what we do. That's why, as I said right from the beginning, we've seen a massive increase in the number of toilets provided, top-up services, electrification, an enormous free basket of free basic services. The reason why Cape Town often is picked on is we're the only ones with the data. We know what we provide, we're committed to redress, and we invest heavily in
I want to drill down on those. I want to drill down on those points. I have to take a break, and we'll be back.